With AEW President Tony Khan interested in being involved in a WWE sale and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Recalling his tag team with Bray Wyatt in WWE, Matt Hardy revealed on his Extreme Life podcast, there was a point where Vince seemed to be high on us at one point, but he said, "We've got to do this right. You guys are two very special characters. You can be something very special together." He ended up putting us out there and we're wrestling almost every single week. We were just getting wins. We won the tag titles and we're having 3 or 4 minute matches, which really didn't do anything for us or our opponents. It didn't do a lot for us either way. I would have kept our wrestling appearances a lot more limited and made us special gimmick characters. I would have done a lot more vignettes. Bray and I had a deal where Bray would have nothing left and he would come to the Hardy compound. We had some pretty good entertaining vignettes in mind that we would have liked to have done at that time, where he would be accepted as a part of our family and House Hardy. I felt like we needed off-site vignettes more than anything else. I would have added a lot of that. I would have really liked to build the characters as opposed to just putting us in the ring every single week and making us common wrestlers, because we were supposed to be special attractions. Talking about his time as a commentator and the hardships of the job, Samoa Joe said on the sessions that, "I think if anything, the hardest part about doing commentary is the man in your ear." I mean, you could attest to that. It's just because he's very exacting. He wants what he wants. No beef with that. I mean, okay, I get it. I just thought about what I'd want people to say about me when I was in there, and that really was kind of my main focal point. It's like, if I'm so-and-so, how would I want to be talked about? If I was on top and I was putting on pressure and beating up this guy, how would I want that described? And really, that's kind of the mindset I took into it. I wanted to enhance whatever performer was in that ring. I wanted to enhance how they appeared to the fan. And that was really the only singular concept I tried to keep in my mind while I was doing it. But I enjoyed it. It was a great time. I was working with great people. Michael Cole is probably a guy that is really unheralded. I gained so much respect for Michael Cole and seeing what he actually does for the company. It goes far beyond the camera, and seeing what he has to put up with and seeing what he has to deal with. I realized this is a man who, like anybody else in the world, would have broke under the pressure that he's put on under consistently week after week after week. And he was a big help too, because he fully believed in me and did everything he can to put me in the best position to succeed. With a faction in WWE switching brands, it was reported Fightful Select has learned that Maxine Dupree, Mason Mansoor are all now officially members of the Raw roster. The trio known as Maximum Male Models appeared on Raw last week and looked like they were set to recruit Alpha Academy's Otis. On the ad-free show's Q&A, Al Snow gave his thoughts on the AEW roster as he said, "You have too many people. Understand that every one of those people that's under contract is an investment. You can't market and properly commercialize all of those people because you just don't have enough television real estate to go around. When you have the television real estate, you can only sell one product. The more you broaden the spotlight, the dimmer it gets. Laser focus on those that they want to sell. Keep that depth that you've got enough that when you need to build somebody, you have somebody significant." Touching on John Cena still wrestling after all these years, Seth Rollins told Pro Wrestling Illustrated, "John's the GOAT, man. John's the best. John is incredible. And I'm a footnote, really, in his career. John influenced so many talents over the years. He was a generational guy. For me, though, on the other side of that, John influenced what I do so heavily. I took a ton of inspiration from John. I learned a lot being in the ring with John. I learned a lot watching John behind the scenes. And John still is a mentor to me even now, even though he isn't around that often." Speaking about new additions to the upcoming WWE 2K23 video game, creative director Lionel Jenks and associate gameplay producer Brian Williams told Screen Rant, with Universe, there's some huge improvements that we made there to help tell the story and give users even more control than they've already had, which is crazy to think about. You can have actions that you want certain superstars to perform before a match, like, okay, I want Bobby Lashley to shake hands with MVP before the match, but at the last second, I want him to just punch him. Like, those are actions that you can actually assign to that match and watch those cutscenes play out and see how that kind of dictates your rivalry. Lionel mentioned it earlier when he was talking about Universe, but I was playing with it. I was playing the game over the past weekend, and I even reached out to our Universe designer. Him and those guys have done a tremendous job on Universe this year. The ability, because cutscenes have always been prevalent in the universe and telling those stories within that mode. This year, having the ability to be that ultimate puppet master where, like Lionel described, being able to scroll through a list of available actions that you want your superstar to do, whether it's to be respectful at the start of the match or disrespectful at the end. The level of control that the players will have in Universe this year is something that I don't think they are expecting. I mean, Universe already is about control and being able to manipulate everything, but this new layer of being able to actually now set and direct certain actions and events to happen, I think for me it's a game changer for the mode, and I'm excited for the fans of this mode to get their hands on it, because I think that one of those content creators who like to stream the game, they're going to have a field day with this. I think the fact that it all works as beautifully as it does, I think that is something that is really going to surprise a lot of people, and I'm really excited about that. Talking about the aftermath of taking a chokeslam from The Undertaker, Mick Foley noted on his podcast, I remember wrestling The Undertaker in Fayetteville, North Carolina, just a regular chokeslam, which was not the finish. We went a few minutes more, but I can feel this internal bleeding coming up, and I finished the last couple minutes looking like Dizzy Gillespie on a hot trumpet solo, you know? My mouth was just full of internal blood. I made it back to the dressing room, went into the sink, and I just spewed blood everywhere, just from a simple chokeslam. The chokeslam was difficult because, unlike, say, a suplex, you were absorbing that impact from your shoulders all the way down your lower back through the buttocks and your feet. A chokeslam, basically, you're taking all the impact on a small section of your back, especially in the old WWE rings before they were changed them a few months after the Hell in a Cell. Just taking a chokeslam, if you land on one side or the other just slightly, you would feel it for a few days. Reacting to highlights of the first Elimination Chamber match at Survivor Series 2002, AEW champion MJF wrote on Twitter, Madison Square Garden, I was there live. I was 7. That was the night I decided I was going to become a world champion and a generational talent. Correction, I was 6. I feel bad for all the grown men that watch me every week in their 30s and 40s that won't amount to a fraction of the I have since birth. Sad. Giving a reason why Ronda Rousey lost her Smackdown Women's title, Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio, they made the decision to go with Charlotte, which was basically a last-minute thing. Let's put her over. Ronda then decided she wanted to be a tag team champion with Shayna Baszler because she's always wanted to do that run, so she will do that run. When talking about Bobby Lashley's current run in WWE, Kevin Nash said on his Click This podcast, I love Bobby. He's a sweetheart. He just always seems to be missing something. I don't know what it is. Maybe, in response to Oliver asking if he meant Lashley's promo skills, I think he across to me like he is a nice guy. He's not a killer. Bobby Lashley's just not a killer. He's a nice guy. Brock Lesnar, he's a nice guy, but he just has that something in him. Yeah, when Oliver says danger, Bobby Lashley, if you said please, I've had enough, I think Bobby would stop. I think Brock would stop you 2 more times. Speaking about a potential matchup between him and Brock Lesnar, Intercontinental Champion Gunther told the Rob Brown Show, Brock is a 1 in a million guy, 1 in 10 million. I always liked those guys that have stood out from the pack. I stopped watching wrestling for a while when I was a teenager, and then I got back into it again when I started training. There was a time when Brock was young, and he was wrestling Eddie Guerrero and Big Show and Kurt Angle, and the guy was fantastic. I always loved his matches and was very impressed with that, and also with the recent years in WWE. I always thought it would a thing for wrestling in my style, that's my in-boss. I've been portrayed as the in-boss in wrestling for a lot of the guys, but I think Brock could be my end-boss. I really hope the match goes down at some point. Reacting to Seth Rollins calling CM Punk a cancer and telling him to stay away from WWE, Jim Cornette said this on his podcast. It was such a childish and comical cartoon way of saying it that it sounded more like a bad wrestling promo. Plus, he's standing there looking like he's plugged into the wall socket. Made me look like I was constantly attending funerals everywhere I went when I was a manager. With many potential buyers for WWE, AEW President Tony Khan was asked about interest in a sale, to which he said on the Mark Hoke show, "I don't know exactly what will happen there. I've been told, and I think they've said publicly, that there may be a sale process. If there is a sale process, certainly I'm interested in it and potentially being involved in it. We'll have to see what that process is and who exactly they'll let get involved in it. Certainly, I'm interested in it very much." And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.